For everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel, if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. It's my honor to
And it
have
froze.
one half of the main event for 247 Fighting Championships Brawl in the Burgh 25. That's now 13 days away. We just passed 2 weeks away, and it's going down on October. Yeah, we're back in October. December 21st, the week of Christmas, December 21st at the Monroeville Convention Center. My name's Luke Basin from MMA Fancast. I think we just had a little bit of technical difficulties. So let me say again that we are about ready to welcome one half of the main event for the 247 Fighting Championships Brawl in the Burgh 25, and that is Ethan, the Wolverine Goss. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Hey, always happy to be here, Luke.
Always so great to have you on the show. You are officially the champ. It's one thing to be the champ. You are the champ. You have won and defended the 145-pound featherweight pro belt for 247. Last time we saw you in the 247 FC cage, you became the only pro double champ. I actually think that also holds for amateur. I don't think we've had an amateur double champ, but the only pro double champ when you fought your opponent and won the 155-pound belt. You've had some injuries and surgery and some stuff. This is your first time back for MMA, and it's the main event for the 155 lightweight belt versus Chris Rocket Rollins. Really excited about that matchup. Why say yes to this matchup to be your first back? And of course, talk about the process of being, I'm going to guess, away about a year, and what's it like to be finally back ready to get back at it after your recovery.
Oh man, it feels like a blessing. Like I said, it was out a year. I think I was preparing for the featherweight title defense. It was supposed to be in April against Brady Wang. I ended up suffering an injury that needed to have surgery. And, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'll blow through this and be back by fall. And, end of summer came, fall started and still wasn't ready. And, I'm like, oh, well, then I'll be ready by September. Wasn't ready. I'll be ready by October. Wasn't ready. I'll be ready by November. Wasn't ready. And, I went through it a little bit mentally, in that sense, where it was like I wanted to compete, but I couldn't. And I was seeing a lot of guys get a lot of opportunities and be able to go do some big things, and I was sitting on the sidelines, not able to do anything. So I was kind of getting frustrated for sure. But it all worked out because it gave me the time that I needed to prepare and get ready. And, now we're back where we're firing on all cylinders. And to be honest with you, I feel better now than I did before I even got injured. I think the break gave me a chance to mentally reset. And it's weird to say because obviously I was in a great mental space before that. I'm coming off 6-fight win streak over plus 500 record guys. So I was in a good space before that, but just the mental capacity of competing and constantly wanting to compete, it gave me a break from that to where I was able to just step back and focus on some other things that are come with the sport. And for me, it ended up truly setting me into another level. What I feel set me into another level to where I feel absolutely monstrous right now. So as far as the fight with Chris, Chris is like myself. Well, he's 19 fights MMA. That's not even counting how many boxing fights and stuff he has. He's a tough, durable guy. One of his recent wins was over the last guy that beat me in Ethan Hayes. It was just an intriguing fight. I've known of Chris for years. I've seen him fight a couple of times, and I'm sure he's known of me for a while. I always kind of figured we might cross paths. And what better way to do it than in the 247 cage with the lightweight title on the line?
Yeah, I agree. You gave a great review of everything. I just did an interview a little bit earlier tonight with the Rocket, and I'm going to be posting this interview, your interview, and he did give his thoughts on kind of that MMA math of your last loss professionally for MMA was against Ethan Hayes, who he has a win over. So he gives his
Yeah,
thoughts.
not to
What?
cut you off, but that doesn't mean shit. Like,
I know. I'm just
uh,
saying.
yeah,
Check it out. See what he
I can
says
beat
about
a
it.
guy
Yeah.
that you know what I mean goes and beats somebody else, and then I can lose to that guy that lost to the guy that I beat. Like the MMA mass stuff isn't
Yeah,
that
it
just
doesn't.
that doesn't mean anything.
It sounds good. As a commentator, I
Yeah.
myself do not believe in MMA math because one of the things that's so unique in martial arts is it really matters just what happens. You could have a fight 10 times and it turn out differently or at least slightly differently each time. And it depends on a whole factor of things. And sometimes we've seen that some fighters just have another fighter's number. We've seen that with Strickland, the 185-pound champ, who I believe is now the ex-champ. He had lost to people that you could consider better, and then the next thing you know, he got the belt because he was able to outwork that one guy. So it really does come down to the matchup. Speaking of the matchup, why take this at 55? Is that something you want to do more to kind of be a little easier on your body, fight at a healthier, bigger weight? What's your thought on 55 versus 45 for this fight?
Well, originally I was never supposed to fight at 55, obviously. The fight was solo for the 155-pound belt was on a 2-day whim. I was originally supposed to defend the featherweight title against him. And he 2 days out, he said he wasn't going to make the weight, wasn't going to make 150 either. So we opted to do I opted to go up to 155 if they put that belt on the line, and that was just how it worked out. And I fought at 55 before as an amateur, actually, for one of the one amateur title I have is the 155-pound title. But I now that I won the belt, I kind of have an obligation to defend that belt. And Ryan, it was one of the things Ryan asked me, would you defend the belt if you won it? And I said, yeah. You know what I mean? If I hold the belt, I'll defend the belt. I might be a little bit pickier on matchup at 155. I'm not a massively large featherweight, kind of like middle of the pack, size wise. 155, there's guys that are smaller than me that compete at 155. But I felt good at the weight against Solo. With that fight, I basically fought. I think I weighed in at 154.3. Fought that night or the next night. Come back home Sunday. Stepped on a scale and I was 154.3 when I got home Sunday night. So I basically fought at what I weighed. But I don't ever take into the account of like ballooning up and trying to put on a lot of weight. I try to be where I feel the best at. And for me, anywhere between 154 and 158 pounds, in that threshold, maybe 160 is where I personally feel the fastest, the clearest, mentally clear. And that's where like I'm banging and booming, the whole time. So, I have no problem with that at 155. Being out with the injury, I did put on a little bit more weight. I think I was up to 182 at one point. So it made it a little easier, especially with around the holidays and stuff to do 155. But make no mistake, I'm not just coming off the couch, for this fight. The way it laid out was I was injured in March. I had surgery on April 12th. I was in the gym. That was on a Friday. I was in the gym clear up till that Thursday. I think I was helping Diver get ready for a fight. And I had surgery on that Friday. I took the next week off, after the surgery. And then I was immediately back in the gym from that point on, clear up till now. I mean, I've been training this whole entire year and I just focused on the things that I could do. And the side that was good, I made that side better. You know what I mean? And then once I got out of a cast and stuff, I focused on, rebuilding that side, which like in your mind, you think you're just gonna, I'm just gonna be right back to normal. But you haven't used that arm or that mobility in that arm in a while, and then so it takes a little bit of time to build the muscle memory and stuff back up. And like I said, it didn't come as fast as I'd hoped, but it did come at the right time. And now it's at a point where, like I said, I'm better now than I was at the beginning of the year. So, for me, it's just coming back at 155 is no big deal. Plus, I was supposed to defend the title against Brady. I feel an obligation to not defend that title against anybody else but Brady. So, he's the next bullet in the chamber for me after this fight. Not that I'm looking past Chris at all by any means, because I do not do that at all. But, I have the featherweight title to defend next.
Well, your mindset is really incredible. I'd say anybody that's still fighting with your number of pro fights similar to Chris, you've figured out the mental game, through the process of ups and downs of the pro. It's a huge testament with recovering. I'm not a professional athlete. I've recovered from 2 shoulder surgeries, and there's always a point in recovering from surgery where it's just easier to not do the rehab and just be like, I don't need to, of course you're not going to recover, but obviously be able to push through that. And for you as a professional athlete looking towards continuing to build your career, you've always said it, you're the double champ. You've always said that you want to continue to win big wins for 247 so that the UFC sees you, just like they did for Kama Worthy. He was the first ever.
It means everything. Even people that I don't train with on the daily, like I have a 12-year career that I've ever been injured to the point where I had to have some kind of surgery and stuff. And even if you can't do anything, as long as you're around the atmosphere of the gym, and even if you're there helping or coaching or guiding other people, it's better than I was before. And which is like hard to grasp sometimes, because like I felt like I was mentally on top of the world before. But having that kind of support.
Example of someone who has an incredible support system.
But I was, kind of in the middle of my pro career to where Isaac really kind of opened the door and was like, come out and train with us, get working with us. And I went out and trained with him. And Isaac treats me like one of his own. And then Kama and I became, close friends. And Justin and I really became super close friends. Like, Justin's one of my favorite people. And even recently, Lucas and I have been, cooperating a lot and, talking back and forth with each other. And it's just nice because it's just one big thing where we all build each other. And basically everybody I listed off that, I was training with yesterday are the elite of the elite in Pittsburgh. We all know what Justin did this past year. He really, really took off like a rocket. Everybody knows how good Kama is. He's been in this business for long enough. If you don't know Kama Worthy's name and you're in Pittsburgh, you probably shouldn't be in the game. Even Lucas. Look at what kind of start Lucas is off to, and to be able to be in the room and work with those guys, and we all do it respectfully. We're trying to get at each other, but none of us are trying to do it in any kind of ignorant way or ego form or anything like that. They basically, like you said, they treat me as one of their own. I always say, Lucas says his quote is he's Pittsburgh's favorite fighter, and I might be Pittsburgh's favorite adopted fighter. So, I've been out there for going on 13 years now, and build a good fan base, even in the area. And they've always supported me, like Mike Wilkins and those guys have always supported me. And, being that Stout opens the doors and lets me come in, like Will Morrow, he's told me anytime, I'm welcome out there anytime. And, Will and I even go clear back into the beginning of my career to State College days when he was boxing at Penn State. We moved around and sparred and stuff back then. So Will knows where I came from. guys like that. Chris Williams, I think Chris Williams is one of the most beautiful striking minds in the Pittsburgh area. I don't think you get much better, you know, than Chris Williams when it comes to analyzing fights and breaking down film study and you know and figuring out game plans and doing the right drills and stuff. And even him and I have collabed a little bit on like, what's this? What do you guys do for this drill or what stuff like that? It's just awesome to have that. But we're in an area where you don't walk into a gym and there's not 300 fighters. It's, you know what I mean? You don't go to, it's not like down an American Top Team in Florida where there's just packed house full of fighters. We're in Pittsburgh on a Saturday when everybody's sparring us out. You walk in the room, there's 30, 40 guys, in that whole city of Pittsburgh. You walk in Altoona's room, there's maybe four of us. You know what I mean? So to be able to go out there and be part of that group and stuff and train with those guys is truly a blessing that you couldn't ask for. It sucks having to drive all the time, but this is what you're doing and this is what you want to do and you need to do it the right way. It's just part of the price you pay.
Part of that great mindset you have, and it really does show. It shows how great a lot of those gyms are. You come from a great family type gym too. I'm sure your coaches would welcome somebody needing to cross train over with you. You're just a little bit more
Oh,
out.
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about how you see this matchup going. And if you want to make a prediction versus Chris, this is a big time fight. And then, regardless of whether or not you do a prediction, because of course you might not. Where do you think a win over Chris puts you as far as UFC, eyes? I know you're always looking to take out people that have lots of experience and are good fighters. You're on this incredible 6-fight win streak. You've really continued to show your, raise your value as far as at the national level.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the matchup goes with Chris, he's obviously more of a striker type fighter. Has an extensive boxing background. I've seen a lot of film on him and seen him fight a lot of southpaws, seen him fight a lot of orthodox guys. Know kind of what he likes to do, how he likes to open fights and I feel very confident and very comfortable in my ability, especially the way I've been performing lately, on what I'm going to be able to do. But there, if I would say that there's maybe a gap somewhere between us, it would be, I feel like my grappling's more extensive, wrestling background and grappling's more extensive than his. He's a very durable guy and very solid in the sense that he's not somebody that's easy to get out. My whole intentions are to obviously look for a finish, try to find a finish in this fight. I know that's what the UFC wants. I know that's like to speaking with my management team. That's what they like to see. They like to see guys that win, the guys that win with finishes. So that's obviously the number one thing on the radar in this fight. I don't really care where it has to be done at. I don't care if it has to be on the feet. I don't care if it has to be on the ground. Whether it's submission, TKO, or a knockout. I just care that I get it. So I won't, I don't necessarily classify myself as one thing or the other. I'm just whatever I need to be to get the job done. And at the end of the day, get that little green W beside my name on Tapology. So it's just win at all costs, really. And, but I mean, he's a little bit taller. According to his Tapology, he's 6'1", so he's got a couple inches of height on me, but his reach is actually a little shorter than mine. So, I mean, it'll just be, a little bit of a chess match at first, figuring things out, finding my distance and my range and get my timing down, and then pull the trigger when it's time to pull the trigger. Like I said, I know Chris, he comes in well prepared. I know he just won the Shogun title, I believe. And then he won the Made Men title when he beat Ethan Hayes. So, I feel extremely, very, very confident coming into this one, what I'm going to be able to, how I'm going to be able to perform, and what I'm going to be able to do in there.
Well, that's what matters. Your mindset. You mentioned getting the green W next to your name on Topology. You're ranked like top three in Topology at your weight class, and right now it only has you as a lightweight because of your, because that's the last
No,
fight.
I'm ranked at both. I think I'm number two at lightweight and number two or three at I was number one at featherweight, back when
Yeah,
I before I got injured, and it didn't just change until like a month ago. I was like number one or number two. Um, but I'm either two or three at featherweight, and I believe I'm number two at lightweight at the moment, and I think I'm number six pound for pound in the top 50 Northeast. You know what I mean? All
yeah.
that good stuff.
And that just means
Um,
like what you're doing is matters and it's catching people's eye. Topology looks a lot. It's not perfect. I think we could disagree on some of the rankings.
yeah,
It tries to do its best on definitely win streaks and who you've won over. Who you've won over is probably one of the stronger aspects of your fight game. The wins you have all matter.
yeah, and I would say that maybe is a little bit of a difference between Chris and I. Um, I'm not taking anything away from him, but 8 of his 10 wins are over guys with losing records. Um, you know, Mine, I don't remember what mine is, but obviously in the last six, I'm over six, 5 or 6, I'm over, all guys with winning records, beating Skylar Sudo right as he came out of Bellator. Um, beating Solo Hatley, who I believe is on a 2 or 3 fight win streak since we fought. Beat Calvin Harbaugh, who's I believe is on a 2 fight win streak since we fought. I've beaten some really good, solid guys, and I think that's a little bit of the difference between us and who we fought and competed against, which I always take that into consideration. Like I don't give a shit if you're 11-1. If you're 11-1 against guys that are 1-14, you know what I mean? You're not a true 11-1. Like um, that's what Chris Williams and I stated the other day. Anybody in Pennsylvania that has a decent record as a pro is, you're a stud. You're you're one of the top guys on the market right now. Being that we're in such a wrestling heavy state, so
Yeah, makes a big difference. I guess just give your thoughts a little bit as we wrap up on where you see this fight mattering as far as the UFC. Like, do you think this and maybe fighting the guy you already mentioned hung as far as maybe your last 2 fights before the UFC wants you for contender, or is it literally since you've got Chris and the gentleman you mentioned at 145 already lined up, you're focused on that before looking at whether or not you can make that to the UFC?
yeah. So I mean, the thing with the UFC is if it's not contender series, your only way in's a short notice, so you never know when that's going to be. It's just stay ready. Obviously, a win over Chris makes it even look better. Because that adds it to 7 in a row, and my win to loss ratio is getting a lot better. Like for Chris, he's 10-9. A win for him would put him at 11-9. The UFC doesn't really like that kind of win to loss ratio. They want to see a bigger gap there, and even where I'm at right now isn't quite enough. Because they got a big pool to pick from with guys, and that's why you see a lot of guys now pad the record. But I'm not really too concerned about, um, you know, where winning this. I should get a UFC shot. Now, I beat Chris. I go on, say, hypothetically speaking, here I go on and I beat Brady next. Beating Brady, who's 13-4, should be a huge feather in the cap for something like that. And I'm at the point now where how much more can you ignore an 8 fight win streak? If I get to that point, when I get to that point. Um, so like even now, I'm starting to like people recognize, oh, he's on a 6-fight win streak. And where I see it the most is, when if we're trying to find opponents, because guys look at me and are like, they only want to fight me for a lot of money, or they're not interested in that type of fight. Because at the end of the day, I'm a tough matchup for anybody, whether you're a striker or a grappler. Either way, I feel like I proved that in my last 2 fights. I beat a guy that was signed to Bellator, and Solo Hatley, had multiple fights in Bellator, who is a premier striker. And the one before that, I beat legitimate grappler and Calvin Harbaugh. I beat Calvin on the ground and I beat Solo on the feet. I beat these guys at where they were best at. So as far as like the UFC goes, yeah, I mean, I want something to happen. Obviously I've kind of told my manager, Rich Chow, like, I've done everything that's been asked of me and then some, and the goalpost kind of seems to keep moving a little bit. But at the end of the day, that's the name of the game. It's not fair to anybody. I think one of my favorite quotes is what Nate the Train Landwehr said. This fight game's like loving the neighborhood hoe. She ain't ever gonna love you back. So, and that is like the truest thing ever. You know what I mean? You can fall in love with this, but it's gonna do nothing but break your heart over and over again. But yeah, I just keep doing what I do. Keep after it, keep doing what I do, keep getting better in the gym. Keep going out there to train in Pittsburgh with these guys that are, they can give me good looks and pushes, and keep after it, and obviously I'm making the right steps, and it's been showing. And we're still on that trend, we're still on that path. A lot of people say, like, oh, your age has something to do with it. I'm only 32 years old. Everybody just thinks I look old because I'm half bald, and everybody. I've been in this game for 13 years. I've been doing this since I've been like 19, 20 years old. So I've been around forever, and everybody thinks I'm, a 40-year-old man. I'm only 32 years old. And if age is such a factor, why do I keep stomping mud holes in these young bucks? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just what I'm aiming for. At the end of the day, just keep getting better, keep doing what I do. I'll keep beating guys that I need to beat. Like I said, there's 2 in the barrel for me. Granted that everything works out. And after that, then hopefully the UFC recognizes something after this one. If not, hopefully after the next one. If not, hopefully after the next one. We just keep doing what we do. We stay ready. And when that phone rings and they say, hey, we need you in 5 days in Arizona, the answer is yes. I've made that clear to Rich and my management team. The answer is always yes. I've told them I'll do it at 55 or 45. The answer is yes. Fighters fight. So
it's an incredible mindset you have. The double champ of 247 Fighting Championship. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. I like to call you the most handsome man in MMA. And so I think I've been saying that about you for several years. A longtime partner with me in the booth as well, and always an honor to see you get back in the cage. You're great on the booth. You're incredible. For people that have 247 Live, the year subscription, watch the fights where you're on color. You're just incredible at what you do, but you're even better to watch in the cage. Can't wait to see what you do. Ethan the Wolverine Goss fighting for defense of the 155-pound lightweight belt for 247 Fighting Championships Brawl in the Burgh 25, Christmas week, December 21st at the Monroeville Convention Center. Really excited. Thanks so much for coming on the show. This is Luke Payson for MMA Fancast with Ethan the Wolverine Goss. Thanks so much, champ.
Thanks, Luke. Yep, thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Always good, brother. Take care.
You too.
You got it.